the Bring Back Soul Music podcast, the only podcast devoted to making soul music relevant again. Let's get started with your host, Todd Woodson.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Bring Back Soul Music podcast. My guest today is a talented singer from Philadelphia. His name is Ashley Scott. Mr. Scott, how you doing today?
I'm good, sir. Watch that, mister. I'm not that old. Oh, yeah.
All right. Ashley, how you been, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Right. Thank you for joining the podcast tonight, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate the support.
Yeah, no problem, man. You sent me some information maybe a few weeks ago, and I really heard the music, and I thought, man, this guy's pretty good. I got to get him on the show. So thank you again. I know you're in Philly, so let's get started. For those who don't know Ashley Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a singer, songwriter, and performer. Actually got my degree in music from Howard University in Washington, D.C. Born and raised in Philadelphia, brought up in a musical family a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. Just an all-around creative person. I like making music traditionally with like a live band in the recording studio. I still like, having, I guess, lush arrangement to my music. So it's kind of a traditional way of doing things in today's times, but it's still like a breath of fresh air when people hear it.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you came from a musical family. What did we'll get into, and I know you were telling me about some relatives that you have that are in the business. But how did you actually get started in the business?
That's actually, I would say, well, the love of it came from my aunt, and who we'll talk about momentarily, but she's a member of a group that's, pretty internationally known, and they're the longest running female vocal trio in music history. They're known for a song called When Will I See You Again, back in the Philadelphia International Records days from 1974, and the group is called the 3 Degrees.
Yeah.
So she joined the group when she was in high school in 1963, and she took 10 years out between 66 and 76, but she came back in 76, and she's still there. They're still performing. So between watching, a concert that she did back in the 70s at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and it's actually on YouTube, between that and then going through my parents' record collection, that's where the love of music actually came from. And my mother was actually very close with the Delphonics as well. So they're kind of like uncles to me. So, had the best of both worlds in terms of female and male groups, and it has, really trained my ear musically. So I love, singing with other people. I always wanted a group, but it just never worked out for me. So, I just kind of channel all that, energy and inspiration from those groups into my own music, and just, having pretty good harmonies and stuff in my background vocals.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned that you went to Howard. Did you major in music at Howard?
Yeah, I majored in music, minored in business, and I went to school with a lot of talented individuals, some that are, out doing their thing right now, both, traveling with musicians as well as artists releasing product. So a vocalist out of the DC area named I.C.A.R.E, a producer named Daryl Hunt, who has worked with like Yolanda Adams and played with a lot of the R&B and soul artists when they come through DC. Just a lot of great talented individuals. Gino Young, who's a independent artist. He played with Erykah Badu for some time, but he's also released his own independent projects. And Eric Roberson, who's a great friend of mine and who's probably one of the kings of the independent soul movement. He's got maybe almost 15 albums on his own label independently. So, you know, just kind of coming up around a lot of that talent at that time at Howard was just a phenomenal experience.
Right. And so that obviously influenced your musical style. How would you describe your musical style?
I would describe it as traditional. I like to use the word traditional at this point because, you know, some people say, oh, that's old school. But I like to use the word traditional to not necessarily date myself, and because I'm trying to make timeless music. So traditional is timeless in a way. Again, I think I always fell in love with singers and artists that came before me. And Barry White, the 3 Degrees, the Delphonics, a lot of the Philadelphia international artists, the OJs, and even Motown artists. I mean, and of course, you know, the trinity of Michael, Stevie, and Prince. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Those artists at that time recorded with full orchestras, and they actually performed with a lot of orchestras as well. And so, and actually one of my college professors, his name was Webster Lewis. He was actually conductor of Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra. So how ironic to kind of work with him. And I actually performed a song that Webster produced in my show as a tribute to him. He also produced a song called Here's Looking Up to You by Michael Wyckoff in the 70s. And that was kind of a hit in the New York area and in some markets, but it was later sampled for Hey Mr. DJ by Jeanne.
Okay, I remember that from, was that the 80s or the 90s?
That was the 90s. Yeah, that was the 90s. And my other professor was Grady Tate, who was a jazz drummer, but he could sing like no other. He knew every jazz tune in the book. And he's actually probably the most recorded jazz drummer of all time. He's played with Frank Sinatra, Quincy Jones, Count Basie, and he passed away about maybe two or 3 years ago. Okay. And he actually taught me the meaning of lyrics and really zoning into what you're singing about. You know, I remember going into a private lesson one day and started singing When I Fall in Love. He goes, okay, but, you know, so I gotta really ask you a question. Have you ever been in love? And he started cussing me out. You know what the effing lyric means, man? He said, get into this stuff. So, you know, that's a lot of the training that I had, along with being on the Howard Gospel Choir and just singing with a choir and dynamics and, you know, retaining, you know, that harmony and just, you know, retaining your parts and what you're taught, having great retention as far as what you're learning in terms of the music.
Okay. Now, you have siblings who are in the business too, or do you have siblings at all?
No, I do have a brother, but he's not musically inclined. Again, just my aunt, you know, she's still, like I said, she's still working and traveling. That was, you know, the biggest inspiration because that was their focal point, you know, being a group. They were known for their harmony, and to not be a sister group at that time in the 60s and 70s, that group had a pretty tight blend, you know, coming up. They were, you know, groomed for, you know, Caucasian audiences, but they would sing a lot of different songs in their show, Broadway numbers and show tunes and singer-songwriter standards. Like MacArthur Park was the song that they always performed and got standing ovations off of, and their arrangement of it, they do a lot vocally. People have to just kind of take a listen to it and find it on YouTube. But, you know, that's just, you know, a lot of where my ear was and my inspiration kind of came from.
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, which was California, and a variety of different kinds of music. But remember just hearing, and I didn't know what it meant at the time when I was younger, that Philadelphia sound. You had the OJs and McFadden and Whitehead and all the groups that came out of Philly, man.
Gene Carn, the Intruders, the Stylistics, who are probably, Russell Tompkins is one of my all-time favorite vocalists. His voice was just so smooth and melodic, and it just wasn't, for me in their songs, it just wasn't the hits like Betcha by Golly Wow and You Are Everything and Break Up to Make Up. It was a lot of those B-side songs like You're as Right as Rain, or Payback is a Dog, or Peekaboo. Tom Bell was just one of the greatest arrangers of all time for me, and but again, growing up, it's not just for me the 70s stuff. Growing up in the 80s, I mean, you had Luther, you had Will Downing, you had Peebo Bryson, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. From a songwriting aspect, are some of my all-time favorite songwriters, because their bridges were totally different, and when you go to the bridge of a song, you're supposed to take it somewhere else, and they really did. Just listening to the Control album by Janet Jackson and the transitions on that song, they were just incredible, pieces of work.
Okay. Now let's get into your career a little bit. Are you considered an independent artist, or are you with a major label?
Definitely an independent artist. I recently started my own record label, Soulful Sounds International Records. It's just came about last month, or the past few months, and so my new single, Dance the Night Away, is actually the first release on the label. But definitely an independent artist, definitely living the independent artist life of, I do have a team, but at the same time, kind of managing all aspects of my own career, is what I'm doing. So I'm sending emails, trying to solicit performances, trying to promote the current single, and just, have content for social media and things of that nature. So definitely living that as a day-to-day life is a job.
Okay. Yeah. And for those who are listening or watching on YouTube, Ashley, you can find out more about Ashley on his website at ashleyscottmusic.com, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's get into Dance the Night Away. I love it. I thought it was kind of a throwback to some of the earlier, like you said, some of the soulful stuff from the past. What was your thinking around that? How did that all come about? And we're going to get into that, by the way, in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Funny things, a friend of mine, he's a producer in Philadelphia. His name is Wayne Parr, and we go back a lot of years, and he gave me this track, about a couple years ago. And he said, look, man, I made this for you. This is your song, write to it. And we actually had another title for it. It was the same concept lyrically of basically, a guy's being supportive of his woman and saying that, she's just tired from all that she does of just working and taking care of the family and things of that nature, and just needing an outlet to get out. And so originally we called it When You Need Some Time Alone. And I do work with Will Downing on his business team. And so, I do share with him my musical ideas. So I was just sharing with him the track and the song, because we cut it with a live band and everything here in Philly. And he goes, this is cool. He said, but you need to do something like this. And he sang part of what you hear on the song. And I was just sitting there like, okay, so this means you're co-writing a song with me. He goes, I'm just giving you some ideas. I'm like, no, but we're going to fill out this paperwork and you're co-writing this song with me, because I'm going to be using these ideas. He goes, oh yeah, man, no problem. I said, okay, yeah, no problem to you. Just co-wrote a song with me. So I was ecstatic, you know what I mean? So, we cut the vocals at his studio, and had a special guest female vocals on the background vocals named Janae Barkley. And it came out great. We added some live strings from a string player in London, and my keyboardist and co-associate producer Damon Bennett, he played live flute on the record. And it's all live instrumentation, so it's very traditional. I like this way of recording. I don't like being the one-man band, cutting every vocal part or one producer playing everything on the keyboard. For me, that's what made great records, of the past. I mean, it wasn't just Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones that made Thriller and Off the Wall. It was everybody that played and sang a note on each song, in my opinion.
Right, most definitely. Now I want to step back to your company you just formed, Soulful Music. Is the goal to sign other artists, or just to completely do your own thing, or where are you taking that?
Right now, it's just to kind of do my thing, just to kind of start off. I need to kind of create that platform for myself and set my own legacy up as well, for my kids to kind of handle when things are changing, if you will.
Absolutely.
But I would like to work with some other artists and try to bring back some great talent. The motto is staying true to the music, so you'll definitely be hearing that sound of live instrumentation coming from a lot of my forthcoming music.
Okay, this is a good place to pause. After we're going to get into Dance the Night Away. Anything you want to say before we introduce this song? Oh, let me mention that you can purchase this song on Spotify and some of the other music streams, correct?
Yes, available on all digital music platforms: Apple Music, iTunes, Tidal, Spotify, Amazon, and Deezer, and Google Play.
Okay. This is Dance the Night Away. This is Ashley Scott. Enjoy.
We'll continue our episode after this message. Swag at shop.bringbacksoulmusic.com. Now, back to our conversation.
Thanks, Ashley. That's a great song. Appreciate it. Again, you can purchase Dance the Night Away on Spotify and some of the other places. We'll go back through that. Also, if you're looking, you'll see all this on our website at bringbacksoulmusic.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Bring Back Soul Music TV, we'll have all this in the show notes. So, Ashley, touring. Are you going to go out and tour and support this project?
Yes, I'm actually looking to go to a few cities, as well as hopefully next year tour internationally. I do have, the song is actually doing very well in the UK right now. It made it to the UK top 20 on the soul charts. Kind of fluctuates between a couple of numbers, but I got some airplay on a lot of the soul stations over there, as well as the BBC. So it's an honor for that to happen.
We're talking about the influence of, or the appreciation over in Europe. What is it about Europe and soul / R&B that they get that I feel that we don't get over here?
I think the European audience, especially in the UK as well as Amsterdam, they just appreciate soul music more. And for me, that blueprint was kind of already given, not necessarily given to me, but I've kind of seen that with my aunt's career, how, when they signed with Philadelphia International, that music took them overseas. And so they weren't able to really promote a lot of those records here. But that's just where the love was really shown. When they signed to Philadelphia International, that music actually took them international. So the first single that they put out on that very first album was Dirty Old Man, and it went gold in Holland. The second single, Your Decision, made it to the top 10 in the UK. And then when Will I See You Again came out, that was it for them. It was already number one in Japan. They had to re-record it in Japanese because it won the 3rd annual Tokyo Music Festival.
That right.
It was number one in England, so they didn't have a chance to really promote that here. So much that Prince Charles declared them as his favorite singing group. So they performed at Buckingham Palace for his 30th birthday party, and her group were the only Americans other than Nancy Reagan invited to the royal wedding of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Even looking at Will Downing, he's got songs that he has recorded that is totally for a UK show, and he wouldn't really play those songs in his US show. It's just a totally different thing. He had a huge success over there, and even his wife, Audrey Wheeler Downing, she recorded some music with Jeff Lorber back in the day, and they always ask him about her and what she's doing. She tours with Shaka Khan. So, again, it's just a very loyal fan base over there. And they just love American soul music. And the quality of music is just, a lot better. It's a totally different market. So it ranges from soul to jazz and dance music over there. So I'm looking to kind of get into a couple other genres as well.
Yeah, I just amazed. I was so surprised when I first heard that because, You think the U.S. and we're sort of the pioneers of soul R&B music, but you hear that it's so large overseas where it's still okay here, not like it was in the 70s and the 80s, but yeah, you just sort of reaffirm what I've already heard about the European market over there.
Yeah, it's a great market, and I'm ecstatic to kind of get my foot in over there as well. Soul music is still relevant here. I think R&B music is just relevant. It's just not promoted to the masses like it used to be, and it's not the popular music anymore. In the 60s and 70s, it was pop music. Motown was pop music. Philadelphia International, Stax Records, Earth, Wind and Fire, disco became the mainstream thing. So, and even in the 80s, Luther Vandross was pop music. Prince was pop music. Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Bobby Brown, Whitney Houston, obviously, our music was the popular thing, but, times changed and, everything else changed. And I won't go, too far back over history because we kind of know how that went already.
I read your bio and it says that you are really involved in the music community. You said you work with Will Downey, but you're also involved in some educational programs too.
Yeah. So to backtrack, my partner and I, his name is Lox Knox here in Philadelphia. We started a nonprofit to kind of educate, promote, and market people in the entertainment industry that wanted to learn about the business. Philadelphia, like most cities, it can be a cliquish town, and so we weren't a part of any one clique. People were always coming to us asking us for information. We were always promoting shows and things of that nature. So we were always bringing radio personalities and record industry executives to the community to kind of talk about the entertainment industry. I'm also currently and for the past 8 years, I've been a board member of the Recording Academy, which is the organization that puts on the Grammy Awards.
Right.
And so I do a lot, as far as events and special projects with that organization as well. Again, doing seminars and up close and personal interviews and things of that nature with major artists. So the organization is also very involved in advocacy for the creative professionals. So I do a lot on the business side as well.
Okay. So you got Dance the Night Away. That's out. You're going to come out with some other stuff later on this year. Anything else you want to add before we call it a night here? I know it's kind of late where you are at the time it takes you.
No, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be on your platform and your show. This is a great show, and I appreciate what you're doing for soul music and trying to, keep the genre alive and relevant in people's ears and faces. We need a lot of outlets like this because it's not a lot for artists to kind of, get heard on. So again, thanks for having me. I can be found on Twitter and Instagram at AshleyScott3. My Facebook is I Am Ashley Scott, and my website is ashleyscottmusic.com. Go out and get Dance the Night Away. And I do have another song that I put out a few years ago entitled Words, which is also available on all digital platforms. And that's just basically a song about being in a relationship and kind of watching what you say to your significant other in the heat of the moment, just kind of tabling the conversation or the argument for a future moment when both parties are more level-headed to speak.
Okay. We'll close out the show with that. That's Words by Ashley Scott. Appreciate you reaching out to me and sending me some information. Glad to have you on the show. Dance the Night Away, I have no doubt it's going to be a big success for you. Ashley, again, appreciate it. Thanks again, and keep in touch.
Well, thanks a lot.
All right. That's Ashley Scott. Thank you for joining the Bring Back Soul Music podcast, and we'll be right back.
Calling all lovers of soul music. The time to make soul music relevant again is now. You've been listening to the Bring Back Soul Music podcast with Todd Woodson. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to tell a friend. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to our newsletter at bringbacksoulmusic.com.
Well, that's our show for today. I'd like to thank my special guest, Mr. Ashley Scott. You can find out more about Ashley on his website at ashleyscottmusic.com. Don't forget, you can check out the Bring Back Soul Music podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at comments@bringbacksoulmusic.com. Taking us home this evening is Ashley Scott and his song Words. I'm Todd Woodson. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.